So again, fantastic to have the three. So I'm just going to now put you over to Debbie for 3 or 4 minutes for them to give a quick overview on their playing or coaching career before we go straight into the questions. Debbie? Thanks,
Stuart. I think you mentioned everything there, apart from the fact that I wasn't a very good player. I think Alana and Robin would probably clarify that for everybody whenever I try and attempt to join in training or go in goals. But no, I developed a strong passion for football from a very young age. Was playing with boys on the street and in the local playgrounds. When I was at primary school, actually girls weren't allowed to play football. It was seen as a boys only sport, and I was dragged into the head teacher's office on several occasions, and my mum phoned to get told off for doing so. But yeah, when I went to secondary school, I played football, played a lot of sports, volleyball, hockey, rugby as well, mostly for the fitness element, and then decided to go and study sports coaching and sports development. I left school with not very great grades. I couldn't get directly into university with the grades that I had, so I had to go to college first, and then I went to university afterwards in Dundee, and as Stuart said, worked at Dundee United for a couple of years, a mixture of coaching and also cutting training pitches. I was on their ground staff at Tannadice for around about 6 months just to try and make some more money after graduating from uni, and then I was fortunate enough to move up to Inverness, and once I moved up there, I stopped playing because obviously it would have been a huge travel commitment to be able to play because football was very much in the central belt back then. But a fantastic experience working at a club that covered the whole of the Highlands and Islands. So got to see some very nice spots of Scotland that I might not necessarily have seen if I hadn't of worked there. And then obviously when the academy opened, Spartans gave me a call and asked me if I'd be interested in being their football development officer, and I accepted because I was really impressed by the project and what it stood for, and been there ever since, and really fortunate that I was given the opportunity by Shelley Kerr, who used to be the Scotland national coach manager. Shelley was the manager of Spartans women when we first opened the academy, and I was Shelley's assistant for 2 seasons. And then ever since then, I've been the manager and head coach, and I've just progressed through my coaching badges and more for tick box exercises and to develop myself really to be the best coach that I can possibly be, so that I can give players the opportunity to develop and be the best that they can be. And I think that's it. That's really where I am.
Great. Thanks for that, Debbie. Robin, can I ask you as one of the younger members?
Yeah, so I started playing when I was quite young. Pretty much as soon as I could walk, I was kicking a ball about, and I went to my local boys team when I was about 7 or 8 years old. From there, I was there for a couple of years, and I then went to Hibs, and I was playing in both teams for a few years, and then when it was time I had to stop playing with the boys team, and I was at Hibs for about 8 or 9 years. I went from under 9s to played with under 23s, and then signed with Spartans 2 years ago, and I was 15. And yeah, here I am. That's my career so far.
Fantastic. And lastly, Alana.
Oh God, it takes me back. One of the oldest players in the team, I think. So I started playing when I was my boys team at 9. And I played with the boys for a good couple of years before I couldn't play any longer with them. So then I moved to Falkirk. Basically, where it kind of all started for me at Falkirk because I met Polly McDonald during one of her matches, and she was quite interested in me as a player, which then moved me on to play for Boroughmuir Thistle, where I got basically my first call up to the A squad. So I think for there is when I moved. It was kind of a whirlwind for me. It was one of the ones where I was that excited to get my call up that then I thought I had to move to another club, and then I think it just came to a point where I just wanted to play at Spartans. So I've been there since I think 2013, and I'm still there, and it's probably where I'll finish my career as well. So yeah, if Debbie will still have me there, that's it.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so we've got a lot of questions to get through tonight. Some of the girls or players have gave me names, some have not gave me names. So I've got the name, I'll certainly share the name. The first question is, who were your role models in football in a sporting sense when you were younger and why? And we'll start at you, Alana.
I always kind of looked up to Julie Fleeting in a way, even though she's probably not even that much older than me, but just as an all-round person and a footballer, I just thought she was brilliant and kind of did look up to her.
Great, okay, great. And we'll go to Robin.
For me, it's probably Caroline Weir. She's kind of just leaving Hibs as I signed for them, so I've only seen her a few times, but whenever I seen her in training, she was always sort of the hardest working player there. And for me, I think she's probably one of the most technically gifted players that I've seen play. And obviously, I'm sure you will have seen that they've been talking about it the last few weeks with some of the goals that she scored. I think for me, she's probably one of the best in the WSL just now, and I think she'll just keep on getting better. So for me, yeah, she's definitely someone that I look up to.
Great. And lastly, Debbie.
I'm going to struggle to name a female footballer because I'm slightly older than the majority, well, than Alana and Robin. For me, I think when I was growing up, I grew up a Partick Thistle fan because I grew up in Glasgow, and a lot of the Partick Thistle footballers back then were real role models for me. And I think also in terms of female sport back then, people like Rose Riley, who obviously didn't play football in Scotland but played in Italy, was a role model, but along with tennis players like Steffi Graf, etc. as well. So quite a bit of a mixture for me, not really from a football sense. I just tried to stay away from the old firm as best as I possibly could growing up in Glasgow.
Well, just a funny thing, you're talking about your coaching journey. So I suppose when you went into your coaching qualifications, Debbie, and then you moved into some of these professional clubs, and you mentioned Shelley obviously earlier on, but who do you think when you actually get into the sporting environment, the football, who did you see as maybe a role model that helped push you on in your coaching journey to get where you are now? Because I suppose, it's changed where, the SFA are on female only coaching courses, but I'm sure like 10, 15 years ago, when you're going to these courses, you could be in with 7, 8 males, and it can be quite an intimidating environment for anybody. So, who do you think maybe inspired you or pushed you on?
Yeah, I mean, those types of environments were intimidating. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you should be the only coach, or maybe be two of you, but you'd always be split up in different groups. I think for me, Sheila Begbie, who used to be the head of girls and women's football at the Scottish Football Association, was a huge mentor and role model for me in terms of my coaching career. And herself and Anna Signal, the ex-Scotland manager, who's currently the Finland national women's team manager, were both really important in developing me as a coach, but also giving me opportunities to go to different countries, look at different clubs, and also really kind of pushed me and made me feel comfortable when I felt uncomfortable, and that it was okay to feel that way. So, Anna and Sheila, for me, have really kind of defined my career. Without Sheila, I wouldn't be at Spartans. It was her that said to Dougie, go get Debbie. She'd be fantastic for this job and this project. And so I'm forever grateful to the both of them for their guidance and their leadership, but also, the opportunities that they gave me throughout the last kind of, 15, 20 years.
Great. Okay, on to the next question now. And we'll stick with you, Debbie, and it's probably similar lines what we're going to. How difficult and what challenges did you have to overcome in your football journey?
Quite a few, actually. I think, when I played football, it was very, very different to what it is now. It was very recreational. I wouldn't say there was any kind of professional element to it. It was mostly done for enjoyment and fun and being part of a team. I think, one of the biggest things as a player, the challenges that you face is injury. I had like 3 knee operations by the time I was 22. and was one of the other reasons that I stopped playing too. So injuries were always difficult to deal with because you didn't have access to physios or rehab like you do today. You were just on it, in it by yourself really, and just had to get through operations and making sure you get back on the pitch. So challenges like that. In terms of my coaching career, I think, learning who I was as a person was really, really important and very, very difficult, because, I was brought up with very strong values, and, I transferred a lot of them into my coaching kind of philosophy and who I am as a coach. But having that time to be able to learn and develop and really push yourself in an environment that is very much male dominated, and I don't want to come across as sexist against male coaches, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying from my own experiences, like that it has been tough at times. It has been intimidating, and being a coach and a manager at this level, and especially probably over the last couple of years, can be a really, really lonely place. So you have to have a strong network around you. You have to have people that you trust, but first and foremost, you need to know who you are as a person and as a coach, and what influence you want to have, and what are your values and morals going to be within your team.
Great. Okay. And same question, we'll go to Alana next. So Alana, how difficult and what challenges did you have to overcome in your football journey?
I wouldn't say there's been much challenges, as in, I think more like what Debbie was saying, like just I struggle a bit with injuries. So, well, I don't struggle with injuries, but when I get them, I really struggle, because I'm one of the players that will tell you I'm all right, even though I know I kind of keep playing. But I've had a few bad injuries over the last few years, and they have set me back a good bit. But other than that, I think being able to play football, I think just the whole, obviously when I went and played in Italy, we were professional footballers over there, and you get paid, and it's such a different lifestyle. And you come over here, and it's like you can say it's your hobby, but I treat football over here like a job. And I think that's just the challenges really, is just having to deal with, it's not professional, but trying to stay focused and still give your best no matter what.
Great. Okay. And same to you, Robin?
Yeah, for me, it's probably a bit different. I kind of, growing up, there was probably a lot more opportunities for girls in football than it was for Debbie and Alana. I think even though sort of when I was younger, it was maybe there was only a few girls, and you were playing in teams with boys and things like that. But for me, it wasn't a challenge, and I was accepted for me and for being a girl in the teams by the coaches and by the boys as well. So for me, there hasn't been sort of probably the same challenges that Debbie and Alana have faced, and I've been touched with, been quite lucky with injuries, and I've not had anything too serious. So yeah, for me, there hasn't been too many challenges, luckily, and I think with the time that I've been growing up, there was probably a lot more opportunities than there were before for women's football. And even now, to see it grow, I think when I was younger, there was maybe only one girls team from Dunfermline, where I'm from, and then now, like, you go down to Petrevia, and there's girls leagues and things like that. So it's nice to see the game grow, even from when I was a kid as well.
Great. And we'll keep it the same. Next question with yourself, Robin, and it's what extra training do you do to help you achieve your goals? So this is additional training that you'll do to help you get where you are.
Yeah, so obviously
from Lewis from the under-15s.
Okay, so obviously we're talking like before Corona and things like that. I would be training 3 times a week with Spartans, and then also go to Regional Performance Hub with the Southeast region, and that's an additional 3 training sessions in the morning before I go to school. So that's across in the Orium 7 till 8. It's 2 pitch sessions and a gym session on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I do those additional training sessions, and then try and go to the gym once a week myself on top of that. And I think it's important as well to, to do your extra training. And if you want to, I want to be the best that I can be. So, I want to do as much training as possible, but I think it's important to get the balance right as well. So that you're not overdoing it. And I know it's hard sometimes when you want to just, you love football so much and you just want to train and work on it as much as possible. But as well, with other things going on like school and things like that, it's important that you find the balance between doing enough and doing too much, because you want to keep yourself in the best shape as possible and try and not sort of risk injuries and things like that. So I think it's important to get the balance right and make sure that you're resting and you're covering as well. That's really important, just as important as training is.
Brilliant. And over to you, Alana.
I'm the same as Robin. We train 3 times a week, and I think obviously before I had the little one, I did do a lot of stuff out with like the gym and stuff like that. But it's a struggle now to find the time. But I do a lot of like work in the house, either core or upper body stuff for my weights, or if I can get out for a run, I do that. But it is mostly just at football that I do. But this probably because I'm getting a bit older now. But I did used to go to the gym quite a lot as well. But as Robin says, rest is important as well, and that's probably something that I didn't know until I got a bit older, because now I can feel it in the legs. But I think I just do the training, and I try and do as much as I can out with football, because I've obviously got a little one and a full-time job, so it is really hard to maintain.
Great. Okay, we'll leave you now, Debbie. I'm just going to come to you with a new question. So, Debbie, what is the 3 biggest challenges you would think that a young player from the girls section faces if they try to break into transition into the ladies senior team?
I think there's a lot of challenges. I think the SWPL one is getting a lot younger in terms of average ages, the squad. So then, at Spartans, and certainly me as a coach, I don't have any problems playing young players. If they're good enough, then they should be playing at that level, certainly. But at the same time, I think, there can be confidence issues. It's not an intimidating environment at Spartans, but it can be a very big jump from, say, under 17s or under 19s National Performance League to the SWPL one. And I think that jump has got even bigger over the last year or so. So, the confidence can be an issue. I think also too, because there is quite a lot at stake now within the league, and like the Rangers and Celtic, etc., going professional, people can be a wee bit scared of making mistakes. But for me, I think the only way you can learn is by making mistakes. As long as you fail moving forward, is a term that I'll use quite a lot. Then I have no problem with people making mistakes. As a coach, I don't particularly look for perfection, because people have to make those mistakes to be able to learn and develop. As long as they learn from them and they reflect, then there's absolutely no issue. I think physicality could be an issue too as well, in terms of, if they're a younger player and they're moving into the SWPL, you need to have a good level of base fitness. But the strength and conditioning element of the game is even more important than it has ever been. So I think that can be a challenge too, and also tactically as well. We're obsessed with tactics at SWPL level. I'm probably a wee bit obsessed with it as well. I try not to, because I think sometimes as a coach you can really overcomplicate things for players, and you have to try and keep them as simple as possible, because everybody has a different map of the world and a different style of learning, etc., and you have to appreciate that. But tactically, I think just where we're at right now in terms of under 19s, under 17s, under 15s within our country, and probably the lack of investment from the Scottish Football Association to those youth teams, has meant that the gap between going from that to SWPL 1 is pretty significant now in those 3 kind of areas. How it affects the player personally, the physicality, and then also the tactical element.
Great, okay, that's good. We're just going to change it slightly. We've got a question from Neve here, and this is from you as a coach, Debbie, and obviously as the two players' point of view as well. And it's, how do you prepare in the morning or the day of a match, especially if it's an early kickoff? So you can give it a coach's head coach point of view, and obviously the girls can give us the view as a player. So how do you prepare?
Good question. I think like I'll normally start preparing on the Friday evening after training, and usually spend quite a large majority of my Saturday thinking about my team and tactics, preparing set pieces, etc. If it's an early kickoff, obviously, and if it's away game, if it's a home game, it's not too much of an issue. Me can only live 100 metres away from the academy. But if it's an away game, then you've got travel to consider. You've got to make sure that you eat before you leave the house, so that you've got the right fuel in you to prepare yourself mentally for the game and the stresses that could potentially bring. So I'm usually quite calm. Maybe externally, internally, I'm usually running about 100 miles an hour in my head, and my heart starts racing slightly. But I think you've just got to try and manage that. Because the players need to see a confident coach. If they see a rattled coach or a coach that is, slightly nervous, etc., then that can filter into the team. So you have to be, I have to try and be consistent as I possibly can, whether it's an early kickoff, a late kickoff, or whatever. Consistency is so important within a team and managing people and players, that if you're not consistent, then it can cause real issues within the culture of your team and the environment that you're trying to create. So I just try to keep it very, very simple and very consistent.
Great, thank you. And Alana, over to you as a player's point of view.
I would say on a Friday night as well, because obviously we train on a Friday night, and I think from there you're already in that mindset like for Sunday and you're ready for it. And then obviously Saturday, just make sure you're resting. And I also think as well it's important on what you eat on a Saturday night before a game as well. I think that can have a massive effect on your body the next game day, or even just preparing properly. But on the match day in the morning, I'm usually a nervous wreck, because one, you don't know if you're in a team until obviously you get there, and so that's constantly in your mind. But just make sure you're preparing yourself properly, what you eat, what you drink before games. Make sure you're not eating right before a game or stuff like that. Just that. Just make sure you're preparing well.
Great. Over to you, Robin.
Yeah, I'm the same as Alana pretty much. I think it's important to sort of start thinking about the game as soon as because on Friday night it's a bit more, you're kind of thinking about the other team and thinking about how we're going to play. And I think it's important to be switched on from there. And obviously Saturday, as Alana said, you make sure you're resting, recovering well, and do a bit of foam rolling and things like that. Bit of active recovery, eat well. It's important to not only, as Alana said, not only in the morning before the game, the night before as well, to make sure you feel yourself right. In the morning, make sure you're eating enough, make sure you're drinking enough water. I think that can have a massive impact on your performance, and I think you've just got to make sure that you give yourself the best possible chance of playing well and playing successfully. So preparation is really important.
That's coming. I'm going to stay with you, Robin, and this is from Brooke Walker from the girls under 13s, and it's saying, how did you feel when you heard about your first call up to play for Scotland?
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. I think sort of the first experience I had with Scotland was, I think I was about 13, and it was to go to under 15s camp, and I'd never really, I'd never done anything like that before. I think the closest was probably, regionals and going to a national camp there. But I could just remember like sort of getting the email, and I didn't really know what it was about. And then I seen my name, and it was a bit of a shock. I think I was still playing sort of 7-a-side at that time, and it wasn't until I went to national camp where I was playing 11-a-side with the regionals. So it was a bit of a shock, but it's something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was a lot younger. I think a dream of mine was to play for Scotland, as I'm sure it is for a lot of you as well. And so yeah, to get that sort of first call, and I was so nervous. I don't think I've ever been so nervous, but I think as well because you don't know a lot of the girls, and I think there was maybe only a few from Hibs. So yeah, I was so excited, and it was certainly a proud moment for me.
Great. Well, I'm going to just have a wee follow-on question. I'm going to go to Alana first of all, and Debbie, you can take this question as a sort of performance centres that you've been involved in, and it's basically what's the biggest difference? I've been playing for your club and playing for your country, and whether being in a sort of training context. So I'm going to go to Alana on that to start with.
What's the difference with playing with your club? I think what it is when you go and play for your country, you're sometimes joining the girls. Some girls you maybe never met before, or maybe just played against on the pitch. Like my experience in the Scotland squad was, I think at one point I was the only player from my team that was there, which was quite hard because I was a newbie and I didn't really know the girls. So it was quite hard on me. I think you just have to get used to it because you have to go away, you have to share rooms with people you've never hardly spoken to, so you have to build that relationship. But I think when you're playing with your club, especially at Spartans, it's a family. So you just go there and it's just like, honestly, like a group of sisters. Everybody just gets on so well, and it's just I felt I was a lot more comfortable at my club than I was when I went away with playing with Scotland. But again, it was just because I wasn't used to that group of girls. That was it.
I'll go to you, Robin.
Yeah, obviously, I think before I was at Spartans, there was quite a big difference in terms of sort of the game itself. I think, when you're playing sort of youth football, with your club compared to youth international, it can be quite a big step up. But I think playing with Spartans and playing with players that are older that have had these experiences and have had experience with the A squad and things like that, I think it kind of helps bridge that gap, because the physicality is kind of the same as well. It's a lot more than it was playing youth football with your club. And again, as Alana said, it's when you go away with Scotland, for me, say we're talking about under 17s, I'm seeing these girls at Scotland maybe 6 or 7 times a month, whereas with Spartans, I'm seeing them 4 or 5 times a week. So it can be really different in terms of kind of how you know each other, and that can have quite a big impact on the pitch as well. When you're training with the same girls 3 or 4 times a week, you know each other a lot better, on the pitch and off the pitch. And I think it can be quite difficult when you go away, and as Alana said, maybe there's not too many from your team. So and the fact that you only see them, a few times a month, and then it's only sort of a few days here and there at training camps, and when you go away, it's a week and it's done. So yeah, it's definitely a bit different considering you're not with them as much as you are with your club. But as Alana said, at Spartans it is like a family, and we all get on so well, and it's an absolute pleasure to play with all the girls, and it's something that I'll always enjoy.
Great. Debbie, I'm going to leave that question. I'm going to throw another question at you, and this is from Sophie, and it's saying, what training do the girls do away from their 2 sessions a week? We got a similar question earlier, and she's also asking, what do you actually do during the organised sessions with the team, Debbie?
Good question.
That's from Sophie.
Yeah, so like, do we mean like how do I plan the sessions, etc.?
Yeah, I think she's meaning during your organised session, how do you actually organise it? Maybe what's your thought behind it? Are you thinking about planning a month in advance, or is it the Sunday game coming? What's your thought process, and how does a session, I suppose, look like as well?
Yeah. Okay. So currently we train 3 nights a week, and then also the players have the option of going to Nuffield Health on a Thursday evening to either use the pool or do a strength and conditioning session. So the girls are actually training kind of like 4 nights out of the week, which is a huge commitment for them, and one that I never underestimate and really value. I think out with I ask the players to really kind of take responsibility for the strength and conditioning element. You know, what they're doing at training on a weekly basis should suffice in terms of tactical, technical, and physical input. So we don't tend to put much more into the programme out with what we do actually at Spartans and at Nuffield. I think it's like Robin and Alana both mentioned too, that the majority of players that are within our club have jobs or are at school or at college or university. So the opportunity for them to rest and recover is so important. It's vital to us being successful as a team, but also making sure that we reduce the risk of injury. So we try to get the balance right and be demanding and have high expectations of the players and their training schedule, but also make sure that they've got the balance right and they've got the loads correct. And we monitor that with every single player. The player fill in a kind of session diary where we monitor their motivation levels, how long they've slept at night, what their sleep quality is like, if they're feeling any injuries, and that allows myself and the staff to be able to monitor how people are feeling, because it's quite difficult when you've got a squad of 20 players to have a conversation with everyone on a regular basis. So that gives us a greater insight too. With regards to the sessions, yeah, certainly pre-season, we'll have like a prescribed pre-season. So what I mean for that is that we'll have certain things booked in for certain days to ensure that we're kind of ticking all the boxes and preparing the players physically. Whether that's making sure that we do fartlek on a specific night, or we do sprint, short, sharp work, etc. So again, try to get the loads correct, but also make sure that the players are in top condition. And then during the season, the sessions are probably determined by, I try to do them determined on us and what we need to do, but they also have to have a focus on the opposition. And, you know, I have become quite obsessed by that over the last like 12 months, even though we've only played 7 games. You know, we use an analysis software platform called Instat, where we can literally kind of type in a player's name and we're able to see how many good passes they've made, how many bad passes, and how many dribbles they've done, and watch all the video clips. And sometimes you can get too much information that can maybe sometimes make you overcomplicate sessions. But certainly I try to keep them quite simple. I also try to make our sessions fun and enjoyable, because I want the girls to enjoy themselves when they're there. It doesn't matter that we're playing at the very top level. We all have to enjoy it, to want to be able to commit to what we have to commit to. But it will have a lot of structure around about on the Monday night, recovery, and also doing some shaping and preparation for who we're playing, you know, the following Sunday, or something that I feel we need to fix, whether it's in an attacking sense or defending sense. And then on the Wednesday, we'll do a kind of a higher load session with maybe a wee bit of fitness, but again, it'll all have tactical input and relevance to everything we do. And I say this to the players all the time. Every single thing we do has a why behind it. It has a reason behind it. We don't just do things for the sake of doing them, or because, you know, maybe one night I can't be bothered planning a training session. My training sessions are planned in advance, and they're planned with very specific detail and content. And then on the Friday, we'll go over any other further kind of tactical and maybe do a wee bit more technical work with the players. And the goalkeepers are obviously doing their own thing. We've got calling our goalkeeping session over those 3 evenings as well. So it's quite intense. So I mean, you've got 3 nights of 90-minute sessions, and you know, I never ever want to waste a minute of any of those sessions, because it's my job to prepare the players.
Yeah.
And I have to make sure that I give them all the information that they require to be able to execute what I'm asking of them, because if I don't, then I'm failing them. And that's something that I never want to have to do.
It's obviously quite challenging, difficult, you know, having elite squads, 20 players, you can only play 11, and the team dynamics, no players necessarily that happy to be on the bench, whether they don't necessarily see the head coach's point of view if it's tactical or resting, or there can be obviously a lot of reasons behind that. How do you deal with the team dynamics of keeping everybody on their toes, keeping them all sort of fresh as well, and keeping perhaps the ones that we all know they can go slightly huffy, from the top elite playing from Barcelona, and being a good man, people's manager, I suppose, and it's getting people on side. And you talk about shaping the teams. Obviously, some professional men teams are a bit, I suppose, cagey and wary what 11 they're putting in. So some managers maybe name their team before, some will keep it, a couple of hours before kick-off, and you maybe not got that luxury being part-time. But how do you actually manage the dynamics, I suppose, of the changing room?
Yeah, it can be challenging at times. I'm not going to lie, because everyone, as I mentioned before, has a different map of the world, and different things motivate different individuals. So for me, it's really about building relationships with the players and getting to know them and really trying to understand them. Throughout my career, I have seen fantastic football coaches that cannot manage people. And it's the most important thing. Like, if you can't manage the people and you can't lead and inspire them, then it doesn't matter what you do on the football pitch, because they won't listen to you and they won't respect you and they won't want to work for you. So I try to build really close relationships by talking to the players, getting to know about, what their life's like outside football, their families, etc., and what makes them tick. And to be, I'm honest. Robin and Alana, I'll probably say that I'm too honest at times, but I always say what I'm thinking. I'm not there to, I'll do it in a nice and calm way. I'm not saying that I'm absolutely brutal in terms of the feedback that I'm getting, but one of the hardest things is picking a squad for me. Like, it's so difficult because I never want to have anyone that's just there to fill a jersey and sit on a bench and make up the numbers. Everybody in that team is there because they can play, they can start, and they can compete for a starting position within that squad. So sometimes you have to have really difficult conversations because you don't want to disappoint anyone. Yep. And but I think if you're constructive with your feedback and you have a rationale and reasons, like real reasons, not reasons that are just made up to just try and make it sound better, but real reasons, and you tell the player how they can improve that to be able to get on the pitch, then 9 times out of 10 they buy into it. Some people will be annoyed, but I think for me, you really have to let the emotion out of it. Like, I used to always speak to every single substitute before a game, and I did it for around about 7 years, and I exhausted myself because I used to be there about an hour and a half early. I would then have a 5-10 minute conversation with every single player, explaining my reasons behind. And you know what? It didn't actually make the situation any better. They were still disappointed and upset that they weren't playing. So I actually made the conscious decision around about kind of like 2 years ago that I wasn't going to do that going forward unless I felt that I really, really had to. Yep. So I always speak to players now on a Monday. I'll name the team on a Sunday, and I'll speak to the players on a Monday that haven't started, because I felt with my experience that the emotions removed by them. They just want to get back on the pitch and fix it. And hopefully maybe they've had 20 minutes on the pitch so they feel a wee bit better about life.
Okay. No, I'm going to stay with you for one more question, Debbie. I'm going to bring, obviously, Alana and Robin in next. So, again, this is a follow-up question from Sophie. From your experience, are there any recommendations you would give younger players on what they should work on in order to break through into the ladies? We talked similar question earlier, but, what things would you talked about some of the challenges earlier on, but, what message would you give to some of these young players tonight listening in?
Watch football. I don't think younger players watch enough football now. And it's something me and Alana and some of the more experienced players talk about quite regularly. I probably don't watch as much football as I used to, probably because my life's like a wee bit too football mad. But I really think it's important that younger players watch football and understand the game. Because as I said before, you know, the two biggest things for me is the tactical ability and the physicality. So I would definitely work on the physicality side of things in terms of making sure that you're in the best physical condition that you can possibly be. Listen to the nutritionist, listen to the sports scientist, listen to your fitness coach. Nobody likes doing fitness. Everybody hates it. I get it and I understand it. But having that level of fitness that you need now in the SLEPL1, it has to be of a really, really high level. And I think for the tactical side of things, reading and watching football can really, really help develop players. So I would advise anyone to do that, because I think we need to do more of it. And it's such a simple way of just being able to learn the game and see how it works and how it happens. And I would probably encourage men's football. To me, is very, very different to women's football, to the point that I sometimes see two different sports. But women's football is so readily available, you know, online or via TV now, that, you know, I would encourage people to watch it as much as possible.
Great. Okay. The time's getting on. We've got a pile of questions, so I'm going to try. Remember, we've got the chat function. So if any of the girls or boys, for that matter, any coaches have any questions, just please put them in there. So I'm going to bring Alana in, and it's, what skill did you learn as a younger player that you still use today?
I would say the Cruyff turn. I think that's still one of my favourites. Like, especially when I was playing on the left wing, you couldn't beat a wee Cruyff turn, dragging it back and then either getting a cross in or stuff like that. But I used to play in the park, honestly, all day long in practice, every trick, until I mastered them, because I was just one of the people. But in our game, you didn't really get enough time to pull tricks off. But definitely the Cruyff turn, that was one of my faves, and it still is. So
fantastic, great. We'll go to you, Robin.
I mean, as a centre half, I probably don't do many tricks. And that's probably a good thing. I think doing tricks too close to the goal would be a bit risky for me.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah, I'll keep it simple. I think, as Alana said, though, I think probably as far as I go is probably a Cruyff turn. But as I said, I think it's probably quite important for me to focus on other things rather than skills at centre half.
Great. I'm going to stay with you, Robin, there. This is from Natasha. And it's, what other sports did you play when you were at school that really helped you with your football? And what age did you start playing football at as well?
For me, as I said, I was kind of I grew up watching football, playing football, and you know, I've got quite a football family, so I was kind of pushed into football from quite a young age. I think I've got an older brother, and I think my mum and dad tried to take him to football, and yeah, he was not having it at all. He wasn't anything to do with football, and I think that was maybe a bit disappointing for them. But luckily, I think I went along to the sessions and I kind of took to it more than him. So and that was kind of me. I haven't really, you know, I enjoy playing sports and I enjoy doing sort of other sports, but for me it was pretty much always football. For me, yeah, I don't think I ever really looked into too many other sports. I think obviously PE at school was about you know, I tried all the sports there and I enjoy playing. I don't think there's many sports that I don't enjoy, but for me it was always football for me.
Great. And over to Alana on that one.
I think I'm the same as Robin. Football was always kind of my thing, but I kind of like every sport, if that makes sense. Like, I just enjoy if there's a game, I'll take part in it, just even if I don't know how to do it. But I enjoy just being very active. But when I was younger, I used to do a lot of running, whether it be for the school or when I was at high school running the track and stuff. So I think that helps in my football, especially when it depends what position I really play on the pitch. But I think running definitely comes in handy. So
great. Okay. I'm going to go to Debbie now, and it's, what's been your favourite Spartans match and why?
There's probably two. I remember we were in the semi-final of the League Cup and we were playing at a juniors ground out in Dalkeith. And it was a Wednesday night, it was a midweek game. And midweek games are always quite stressful for everyone because they're rushing from work, they've maybe not prepared correctly. And we were playing against Hibs, and I think Hibs had beaten us like something like 6 or 7-0 the previous Sunday. So we were really the underdogs. But there was just something in the dressing room before that game that just felt that, you know, we were going to win it. And we did. Louise Mason scored early on, and Sarah Ewan scored as well. And I think we won 2-1. I think we conceded one just in the last kind of 5 minutes. And, you know, everyone was really kind of a wee bit nervous, I would say. But we got through to the final, and it was quite a big statement for us to beat Hibs then, especially after they heavily defeated us a couple of weeks earlier. So that game always sticks in my mind. And then the second one, and probably my most favourite, is when we were the first team to beat Glasgow City in the league. Back in, I think it was it 2016, 2014, I can't really remember. But yeah, like again, going into that game, nobody thinks that you're ever going to win it. You know, not that I gamble, but I think I remember someone saying that the odds for Spartans to win were something like 99-1 in that game, and we won it 1-0. Katie Riley obviously scored in the second half from a kind of free kick from Rachel Harrison, and it was really a huge moment for the club. You know, no one ever expected that Spartans would be the first team to beat Glasgow City in the league for 6-7 years. So I always go back to that as being one of the, you know, I was really proud that day because we deserved that win as well. You know, I think when you deserve a win, it's different than when you've just been lucky. But we really deserved it. We played some outstanding football that day and really kind of put in a team performance.
Great. Okay. So go to you, Alana.
I was just thinking the same as Debbie. Definitely the semi-final against Hibs at Dalkeith. It was an amazing match, and it's like what Debbie says, like you could tell the feeling in the changing room at the start of the game. There was a feeling, and obviously it was Debbie's music that was on, so I'm surprised there was a feeling. But there was something about the music. There was something about everybody. You could see it. Everybody was just so pumped for the game. And obviously, when they did score that goal later on, it was so nerve-wracking. But it was definitely probably one of my favourite games. And I think, do you know what? There's been loads of games that I really have. I just enjoy playing every game. But I think the last one we played against Hearts, I think obviously I scored the winning goal, and I think you could see how much it meant to everybody, and obviously it was the last kick of the game as well, and that was an amazing moment for me. So definitely that game.
Great. And same question to yourself, Robin.
Yeah, for me, I think I'll agree with Alana. I think the last game we played against Hearts, I think we knew it was going to be a big game for us, and I think they just beat Hibs the week before, so they were quite confident, and we knew that it was an important 3 points for us to get, and it went ahead, and it was disappointing when we conceded and they equalised, and you know the game's getting on, and you start to sort of panic a wee bit more. I remember sort of going, I'm just going to get the ball up. We need to get a goal, and it literally was the last kick of the game, and you know as much as you start to get a wee bit nervous as the clock starts to run down. I think for me, I never really lost any hope because it was something there, and I sort of knew that we were going to get the 3 points, and you know I think we could have done it a wee bit earlier, made it pretty difficult for ourselves, but Alana pulled out a decent goal, so it wasn't too bad.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to one last question for me. Time's getting on, and then I think we'll get probably 3 or 4 questions in the chat function. So if I can ask the guests to try to make their answers under 30 seconds, and that's really you, Debbie. So one more from me, and that is, what is your favourite quote? Or we can actually say, what's your favourite book? And it can be a football book or a sporting book. So a favourite sporting quote, or it can be a book.
And mine is obviously the hashtag that we use on Twitter, which is DBDF, so Dream Big, Dream Fierce. That was a quote that was used by Viola Davis. I think she was either collecting a Golden Globe or Oscar award, and she was telling people that they should always dream big and dream fierce. And it's something that we use quite a lot within creating a culture for our team. And it's been part of our women's team, you know, now for I think around about kind of 6-5 years. And it's really stuck. So I always kind of use that.
Great. Okay, Alana, that was over 30 seconds, Debbie.
Yeah, I'm the same as Debbie. Dream big, dream fierce. I think it's a great quote. I think it should be drilled into everybody because, you know, like, no dream's big enough. You can dream so big and do anything, like. So I just think it's a great quote, honestly.
Great. And have you got one yourself there, Robin, or even a book?
For me, obviously, Dream Big, Dream Fierce is a big one as well. But one that probably stuck with me is one that's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Oh, excellent.
For me, that was a big one. I think I've never really been the best technically player in the team in anywhere I've played. But for me, you know, I want to make this a job for me. So you know, just give my own in every training session and everything that I do, and that's something that's really stuck by me.
Great. Okay, last 5 minutes. I appreciate you gave up your time. It's been a fantastic. We could probably talk here all night. Caroline, are you okay to run through maybe 3 or 4 of these questions on the chat function? And if I can ask the guests again to really make them quick, snappy answers to see if we can get through 3 or 4 of them.
A question from Russell. Who has been your biggest support to your football career off the pitch?
I'll give that to Debbie.
I would say my family. As I mentioned before, being a head coach and having that responsibility can be quite a lonely place at times, and there has been several occasions throughout the years that I've really doubted myself and thought that, you know, I'm the problem and that I can't fix it, etc. So, you know, my family, my mum and dad, my sister, my partner, etc. have always been there to really kind of listen and put up with my moans and groans.
Fantastic. What about you, Alana?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd say family because, you know what, like, obviously before you could drive, your mum or dad, they would take you to every training session. They would travel across Scotland to take you to where you needed to go, and they always support you no matter what, whether you win games, lose games. And yeah, I would definitely say family for me.
Brilliant. Know about yourself, Robin?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say the same thing. I think for me, obviously I'm still only 17, so I learned to drive now. But yeah, my mum and dad have taken me everywhere, and 3-4 nights a week. They're driving me about. They're driving me to games on a Sunday. So honestly, I couldn't do it without them. And not just even that, like coming home sometimes after a bad game or whatever, I'm not the easiest to deal with. So the fact that they're not making me walk home is good enough for me.
Great. Your next
from Lucy and Scott, what is your biggest football achievement?
Debbie, we'll go to you. Sorry.
I think my most proudest achievement was leading the team out in the Scottish Cup final. And that was huge for us. You know, we played Aberdeen in the semi-final, and I think we drew with them the week before. We played them at Ravenscraig Motherwell and we beat them. Lana Cleland scored an absolutely fantastic goal to equalise, and then we scored a few more. But yeah, I mean, we didn't win it. And all our League Cup finals or Scottish Cup finals that we've been at, we've not won. But the journey to get to a final is something that can actually be more special than actually winning it.
Brilliant. Alana?
I think every time I'm playing for Spartans is a proud moment for me. So, like, to pick one would be really hard because, you know, you face challenges every weekend, and I just think, yeah, I'm just proud of every moment I get to play for Spartans, if I'm being honest. So.
Great. Okay. I think we'll go with 2 more questions then. Caroline, if that's okay.
Yeah, Daniel asks, how important is mindset in performance?
We're not going to Debbie now with that one. We'll go to Alana.
Mindset, it's really important. You know, like, you keep telling yourself you can't do something, you're not going to be able to ever do it. So I definitely think you have to be positive when you're playing football, because you also have an effect on everybody else in your team if you're not. You can switch off for 2 seconds in a game and then they score a goal, and so I think mindset, keeping positive, it plays a massive part.
Great. And we'll go to Robin.
Yeah, as Alana said, it plays a massive role in everything you do, but especially in football, I think it can be quite tough mentally sometimes, and especially if you're going through periods that maybe you're not playing as well as you'd like. It's always so important to realise that that you need to believe in yourself, and that you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve if you want it enough and you work hard for it. So I think you've got to be it's such an important part of the game, and it can be tough to sort of keep positive, but I think it's such an important part. And if you can keep positive and you can keep believing in yourself, then you can really go as far as you'd like.
Fantastic. And the last question, I think, Caroline.
Well, the last question was from Keith, and it's what is one thing you would say to inspire a younger player?
What are you, Debbie?
Just to believe in yourself. I think the dream big, dream fierce thing always sticks out for me. I don't think that if you can manage that self-doubt and be honest with yourself and work extremely hard on and off the pitch, then you can achieve absolutely anything. And as Spartans, we're here to give you that opportunity and to develop you. So listen, learn, want to do things that you don't want to do, and just really work as hard as you possibly can, and be a good teammate as well. It's not just about you, it's about everybody else, and being able to help each other and really kind of trying to see how you can have a positive impact, not only in your own performance, but in everyone else's performance too.
Great, thanks, Debbie. We'll go to you, Robin.
I think having a willingness and a want to learn is so important from such a young age. I think it's good playing football and practicing, but wanting to make yourself better and wanting to do things, as Debbie said, that maybe aren't as fun, the fitness side of the game. We don't always enjoy doing that, but it's so important, and it's something that's going to really, really improve you and really impact you throughout your time playing football. So I think it's important that you're wanting to learn new things, and you're looking at other people that are playing in your position, and having an idol and having people that you look up to, and look at what they do and look at how they act and how they make themselves better. I think it's so important to have that willingness to want to get better and to want to learn new things.
Great answer. And we'll finish off with you, Alana.
Yeah, I'm the same as Robin, like to have the willingness and want. Like I think a lot these days you see like a lot of young girls play football because their friends play football, and even boys as well. But I think if you're really serious about football, then you are going to have to put in the hard work, because you're not just going to get there because your friends in the team or this, that, the next thing. Like you have to really, really work hard and believe in yourself, and just don't let anybody tell you can't do something. If you want it, then work hard and you'll get it.
Fantastic. Well, that's been over an hour, and I think it's been fantastic. I mean, I've been writing some takeaways from tonight, talking about commitment, hard work, enjoy what you're doing, positive, always want to learn, believe in yourself. So I think it's been fantastic. We're going to video this, obviously, and we'll share that with you as well. If any of the girls or boys have got any questions, then by all means just email the coach and we can pass over to the guests. So I'm just going to finish off with thanking everybody for linking in tonight. It's fantastic. And lastly, I just want to thank, obviously, Robin and Alana and Debbie. I think some of the insights they gave into, Spartans and playing football from a young age right through into, Debbie's coaching journey as well. It's been fascinating, and hopefully we can all take something from it. So big thank you from myself, and hopefully I'll see you up at Spartans in the future. Thank you very much.